describe yourself, like way back in college? How would you describe yourself? How was Somna in college? Were you curious always about manufacturing and how it worked in the real life? Like things have a lot of change, like the generational gap, I would also say. But do you see a huge generational gap or the opportunity gap?
This rejection was always there in my subconscious mind, and it kept me going. It always made me work an extra mile because I had this constant urge that I have to prove myself.
And advice you would give to women who are told women can't?
I would say that these are all noises, disturbing noises, so don't listen to the noises. Go ahead, work, and prove with your work that yes, you can.
Welcome to the Founders Times. I'm your host Suhani Khanna, and welcome to the first segment of Industry only on the Founders Times. And today we are here with our first guest, Somna, who is very knowledgeable about carbon black industry. So let's dive into this podcast to know more about this industry and get more knowledge about how it actually operates. Hi Somna, it's a pleasure to have you on our podcast, and it's so exciting to know more about the industry that you're working in and the job profile you have. So do tell us, who is Somna Maheshwari apart from all the designations and all the allocations that you have earned throughout your life?
Thanks, Suhani, for having me. So I'm Somna Maheshwari, and originally I'm an engineer. I have done my engineering and instrumentation control. So I have approximate 18 to 20 years of experience in manufacturing overall. Yes.
That's amazing. So how did you start up with engineering? Was that always the plan? When you were back in school, did you ever always plan to be an engineer? Yeah, do tell us.
I remember that I had already, and I always felt intrigued by manufacturing. So running equipment, rotating equipment always fascinated me. Besides that, whenever I would see a complete process flow where a raw material is converting into a product, it will always used to spark a curiosity in me. So all these factors combined with the fact that I got 100% marks in maths in 10th grade, it
That's
further
amazing.
strengthened my confidence.
That's important.
Yes. So I was still thinking, but my family was very sure, and it strengthened their confidence that I should be doing the engineering. So that's how it worked. That's how it happened.
Perfect. But manufacturing is a very tough and technical industry, right? For those who are unfamiliar, what exactly does your work involve on a daily basis? And do break it down for the layman audience to understand this industry better.
So you correctly said that manufacturing is tough and technical. But there is one more thing which I want to add is manufacturing is 24 hours industry. It never stops.
Okay.
So it never stops. That's why I also start early morning. I start my routine with sunrise. My day is very dynamic. My routine is very dynamic. It starts with taking a shop floor round that is called a gamba round with my team.
Oh.
My focus is on, yes. So my focus is on safety compliance, environmental compliance, productivity enhancement, efficiency enhancement, people development, skill enhancement, and to make sure that all compliances are met without any compromise. Then these are my goals. Okay, and in order to meet these goals, I use certain proven tools which are standard in manufacturing, like Gamba, Kaizen, 5S methodology, lean tools, like this. Yeah.
Perfect. And if you would have to describe yourself, way back in college, how would you describe yourself? How was Somna in college? Were you curious always about manufacturing and how it worked in the real life? Right now, if you go back, what would you tell to Somna, who is right now studying in college, the engineering that she always wanted to, and what advice you would give it to her? That's something different or something that you would have done differently back then.
I was a studious student. In fact, to tell you one joke, that when we were in school and we all friends were sitting for lunch, you sit in the circle in the lunch, and we were just discussing a random topic came that, okay, if you come to know that if you die today, what would you do? This is your last day, and what would you do? So everybody was saying everything what they would do. And for me, before I could speak, my friends said, okay, you know what Somna would do? She would go and she would study all the chemistry books because she knows that she's going to die tomorrow. So she will read all the chemistry because that came every from her. But that's the kind of person I was that time.
So you would say that you were a certified nerd who would be a bookworm and would read every book that was.
Yes. Yeah, yes.
amazing.
And you remember we are talking about like 35 to 40 years ago, like it's almost 35 years ago. So yeah, that time there was not many outlets to have entertainment. So study and TV, that used to be the only
That
thing
was
in our
all,
lives.
right?
So, yes.
So, like, engineering was always your choice, or was it something that came up from like family, your father or your mother, who suggested you? You should go for engineering since you are so good in your, academics. So, was that your decision?
Yes, my decision along with my sister's decision. As I said that scoring 100% marks in maths in 10th grade made the decision. 12. That made the decision from that. Yeah, you should go for engineering. You are good and let's go for it. Besides that time, there were not many girls who would go in engineering. So you will be very few, you will not be a part of crowd. You will be the part of that few students who have chosen to go to engineering. So wherever you go, you get a lot of value. You are always, what should I say, a center of attraction. So that was an added advantage of being an engineer at that time. Like I'm talking about way back, almost 1991.
Wow. So, like, the times have a lot of change, like the generational gap, I would also say. But do you see a huge generational gap or the opportunity gap, I would say, back then or today? Do you think the opportunities were better or the recognition were better back then, or do you think it is better now in the field of engineering?
Well, opportunities are definitely better. I would say. Not only that, the support system has become a lot improved right now.
Okay.
Like that time, I remember in my first job, we were not allowed to stay in the plant after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock because of the safety reason. In fact, like I would like to mention that I was the first batch in that industry. They were doing a trial. Yeah, they were like I was the first trial to take a woman engineer on the shop floor. So I was their trial batch. Yes. So but with the restriction, so I was not allowed to stay in the plant after 5 or 6 o'clock due to safety reason. But now you can see that women are working in shifts. There is no time restriction. The support system is very good. In fact, we are promoting. You see, there are many platforms like women in manufacturing. So we are promoting them. So that support system has improved a lot right now.
Perfect. And it is also out there that you were once rejected by a company that a woman cannot work in manufacturing. Like, how did that moment shape you? And do you think that it was somewhat, I think in these times it is something that is considered inappropriate. But back then, did you consider that as inappropriate, and how did that shape you as a person who you are today?
Well, if I remember that moment, before that moment could shape you, I remember that moment so painful it was. Because getting rejected on the basis that I was a woman engineer, it was, a loss of opportunity, loss of possibility. And I thought that if I'm ready to take a challenge and I'm ready to work in a difficult atmosphere, why anyone would have a problem with that? But when I got opportunity in another organization. This rejection was always there in my subconscious mind, and it kept me going. It always made me work an extra mile because I had this constant urge that I have to prove myself, and because of that, I always worked hard. I focused on my work, and I made sure that I'm following all the values as any man will do. And in order to prove myself, I would go to all the challenging area in the plant, like top of the equipment, hot zone, difficult areas. I would never stop myself thinking that it's difficult or I'm a different gender. Once I made sure that once I'm into the premises of the factory, I would forget that I'm a different gender. And that rejection fuel worked as a fuel for me, right?
It correctly worked as a fuel for you. I must say that you are doing so well, and I must say that the company would be, regretting saying that now that you have achieved I say you have such great and rich experience in this industry. So tell me, what are some misconceptions about the people that have about manufacturing, or especially from outside, people who have never been in this industry? They just see manufacturing from outside, and some people even today do not consider sending their daughters and their sisters to go for this course. So what is some misconceptions that you would like to burst today?
Manufacturing is misunderstood a lot. From the people who are from outside, they would think that manufacturing is it's outdated, it's low tech, it's dusty, it's dirty, it's not fit for women, and it's unsafe. but the reality is totally different. Nowadays, manufacturing are actually rigorously working towards safety, making the atmosphere safe, towards the cleaner atmosphere. Manufacturing are system based. So when they are system based, it doesn't matter that you're a man or woman. You just need the grit. You just need the detail to the attention. You just need a leadership quality, consistency in your action, and walk the talk. So it doesn't matter that whether you are a man or woman. Manufacturing it's fit for everyone. You just have to have the passion to walk and work on the shop floor. It's not dirty anymore, it's not dusty anymore, because the organizations are working a lot on environmental compliances. So yeah, that's
Perfect.
That's
And
it.
like people, there are a lot of people who want to even start their ventures out of this as young entrepreneurs, because everybody today you have this new fire in themselves that they want to start their own startups. Because I would note this out that there are not a lot of jobs that are left out there because of the economy that is going, and I would just want you to give an advice for the young entrepreneurs or the young people who want to start something of their own in manufacturing, and what are the things that they should keep in mind before initiating this.
First, I would say go ahead, sky's the limit. But in order to go into this business, you have to love the shop floor. You have to be able to work and walk on shop floor. Don't chase the glamour, chase the value, chase the systems, and then you are ready to make a good foundation for the business. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Anything for young women entrepreneurs who are held back by their families, even if they want to start their own venture, they are held back. So any advice for them?
I would say that if a man and woman are standing on the shop floor, there is no difference. They can contribute equally to the manufacturing or to the business. So go ahead. And nowadays the atmosphere has changed a lot. So there should not be anything which should stop them. I have worked in one of the most difficult industries. So why can't you?
That's amazing. That's so motivating. That's so motivating. And just tell me about this. Like when we talk about manufacturing, there are a lot of things that are considered as dangerous and hazardous in this context, that there are pollutants that are being sent out in the environment. Do you think this is something that is a point of concern for the industry, or it is something that the industry is taking care of, if we talk it from your perspective as the industry leader?
Industries are focusing a lot on environment. Yeah, there are a lot of compliances they have to meet, and every industry is working towards it. So
perfect.
It's not a concern. Yeah.
Perfect. And you've worked both in India and Thailand. That is an amazing, I would say, accomplishment again. Being the first woman to go and do work on shop floor. How did that experience, change you as the leading teams in a cross-cultural, language challenge environment? And how did it shape your leadership style, or did it not?
Yeah, it certainly did, because in Thailand, obviously there was a challenge of language. So since when you cannot communicate a lot, you have to depend on observations, your body language. You have to be more empathetic. You have to have a listening ability. And Thailand is known for patience. So I developed a lot of patience when I'm working at the shop floor. Certainly, the working culture in India and Thailand will be different. What motivates people in India may not motivate people in Thailand, and vice versa. So what I learned is that in order to be a good leader, you have to have empathy. You have to take care of the people. You have to demonstrate, and then demand. Like first you have to do yourself, you have to demonstrate, and then you have to demand from the people. If you want respect, you have to have a consistency in your action, competence, and compassion. So this works at both the places, but there are some difference because of the cultural difference.
I completely understand. Any good story back from Thailand that you would like to share with us?
Right now, that's maybe let me think for some time.
Sure, we'll take that later. And looking back to 18 years of all the struggle, hard work, and the legacy that you have been building, what are you most proud of? Not professionally, but as Somna, as the person behind all this hard work?
I'm proud of the fact the way I have nurtured my emotional intelligence, first thing. Second, today I have come to a point where I try to make myself at least 1% better than my previous day's version. And third, I'm proud of the fact that I'm not a part of crowd. I'm different.
That's
Yes.
amazing. You're honestly standing apart from them, I must say. You're a mother as well, and you're working so hard and you're working great. How have you, shaped your parenthood whilst, working daily? Like, there are a lot of people out there are a lot of mothers out there who want to start something of their own, who want to build something of their own, but they're not able to. What's one thing that you would suggest to them as those mothers who want to do something of their own?
You have to be passionate about everything. If the passion is there, you can handle both the things. It's doable. I would say it's doable, but you have to have that a fire in the belly. That yes, I want to do. That has to be there. Like that courage, that fire in the belly, that passion, that compassion, and if you just want that willingness that I don't want to be a part of the crowd. I want to do something different. I want to have some magical moments. When I'm working with my children also, and when I'm working out also. At the same time, I want my children to feel proud of me also. So all those things are there, and yes, then certainly it works.
Amazing. And what is the legacy you want to leave behind for women in manufacturing? Like when you're walking out of this entire industry one day, what is the legacy you would be looking back at a 20-year-old who might be entering this industry? What legacy you will leave back for that woman?
First thing is that, as I said, that manufacturing may look tough, and may look unfit for a woman. But I would say if a man and woman are standing on the shop floor in manufacturing, the output is same. There is no difference. Okay. Second, when you walk on shop floor, when you walk with your team, when you do the Gamba, and when you talk with your people, you try to enhance, you train them, you try to enhance their skill, and when you see that they're improving, it's totally magical. There is a totally different kind of satisfaction you get. When you walk on shop floor, you find opportunities for improvement, and when you execute those action plans to improve the things, and when you see those improvement taking shape in front of you, small improvement, it's totally magical. It's out of the world feeling. There is no comparison to that feeling that yes, you have made some difference in your industry or the workplace you are working. So that's a legacy. If you have that, if you want to have those moments with you, yes, you should go ahead. In manufacturing. In manufacturing, what happens? Everything is there physically. So you can see everything happening in front of you on the shop floor with the people, in the machines, in the working atmosphere. And that's totally different experience.
That's amazing. Do tell us more about the products that you work in when you are talking about manufacturing, because it's a very large and very macro topic to talk about. What is particularly or the particular products that you work around?
Okay, so I work with fertilizer and carbon black.
Okay. So the carbon black industry, perfect. Any myth about the carbon black industry that you think that is out there or people don't have much knowledge about it?
Everybody thinks that it's dirty, but it's not.
It's not. Okay.
Yeah.
And what is carbon black particularly used in? Like what all products that you can utilize it for?
Mainly it is used as a component in tire.
Okay. That's
yes.
interesting. Moving forward with this, it is time for the rapid fire that we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
One myth about this industry.
That is unfit for women. It is perfectly fit.
It's still a myth?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. And one word to describe your journey.
Evolving.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. What is one of the biggest lessons you've had in this industry?
That respect can't be demanded. You have to earn it by consistency, by competence, and by compassion.
That's amazing. And advice you would give to women who are told women can't?
I would say that these are all noises, disturbing noises, so don't listen to the noises. Go ahead, work, and prove with your work that yes, you can, and prove them wrong.
Perfect. So every woman needs to be very passionate to prove these, stereotypes, break these stereotypes. and it's amazing. Would you like to end this with that story of Thailand for our viewers? Any incident that you would recall from Thailand that made you feel that it is something that I would really want to stay in this industry and I want to continue my journey there?
Okay, so as you say that as you know that Thailand's language is totally different.
Yeah.
So, but I had learned the language, but it's not that okay. You can read the newspaper or you can really give the speech
Yeah.
on this. But one day I thought that it's been long time that I'm in Thailand. I should do more than just normal communication. So I had this like monthly communication we have where all the like complete plant people gather, and then you talk about your department's performance of the last month, and you talk about like what you have done good and what were the drawbacks, what were the gaps. So usually I used to speak in English. That
Okay.
particular month I decided that yes, I should do something little more. I should like the concept that I should be 1% better than my previous version. So
Yeah.
that time I prepared the complete speech in Thai language using Google Translator. So complete speech
amazing.
I prepared in Thai. Yes, I practiced, and in Thai language the accent is has to be accent is very important.
Okay.
So I practiced from Google, and then next day I started speaking in Thai. So everyone was very happy. Like Thai people would feel very happy if you speak in Thai. So everybody was very happy, but there were one or two words which are like different pronunciation, different
Yeah.
meaning. So later on somebody came and told me that there is one word, Rong Rian, for both customer complaint and for school.
Oh.
So I had to use that word for complaint, but the way I pronounced it was for school. So they got confused, but it's okay. They got it that okay, I have pronounced it a little bit wrongly. So one person came after the speech and said, Somna, that word, it's not Rongrian, it's Rongrian. I said, okay. So that's, but it was like everybody was very happy that any Indian, like I must have been the first Indian to give a complete speech in Thai language.
Oh.
So that was a very good feeling, yes.
That's amazing, and I would say that the audience learned a lot of, I would say, a new word as well, and a lot more about you and the industry. Thank you so much for enlightening us with this knowledge and telling us that how important even it is not only for the industry but for women as well to grow themselves. And it is so motivational. It was very nice and it was very motivational talking to you, Somna. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope the audience could take away really good pieces of advice and knowledge from this. Thank you so much.